Yo, what's up? Slow-mo back here, doing another video. This time is going to be my impressions of the Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo. And yeah, man, it's freaking awesome. I love it. It was great. I actually played it twice. It was that good. And I can't think of the last time I played a demo or a single player beta twice. It was just really amazing. Let me just start off by talking about how much of a fan I am of old school Final Fantasy, not new school Final Fantasy where you got Final Fantasy 15, which is like a K-pop band's road trip or whatever the heck that was. And honestly, I haven't enjoyed a Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy 9, which is a long time ago. So them bringing this back, and when they first showed it at E3, I was just overwhelmed. I was definitely fanboying out, because this is probably the second best Final Fantasy game that I've enjoyed. I think it's the second best Final Fantasy game overall. I think Final Fantasy 6 is better. We can have that debate in the comment section if y'all feel like it, but I think this game was ripe for a remake, and it was something that Square needed, because they have been kind of not really doing the best when it comes to their releases recently, and this was really necessary for them to really come back and show us that they can still make a really good RPG. Now, this, of course, it's been modernized. The remake is way different. Imagine like watching Advent Children, which was the Final Fantasy movie that was a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. But seeing that in a video game, and it actually not just in the cutscenes, but in the just regular walking around Midgar, regular going through a mission and going through a Mako reactor kind of stuff, the characters just look that good. It's amazing. I absolutely adore it. Now, not everything was perfect. Everything was great. I do think the camera is a slight issue in combat. The camera is too close. I know you can adjust it, but I didn't adjust it. I don't think most people will, so I think that's kind of something they need to maybe pull the camera back by default just a little bit, because sometimes you'll get into attacking an enemy and not being able to see anything but that enemy, and not being able to see where enemies are attacking you from behind. But let me just get into the actual demo itself. And for those who aren't well versed with Final Fantasy VII, this game takes place in a world where Mako is like this energy force, and I'm not going to get into deep into what the energy is, because then that'll be spoilers, so they're not going to do that. But there is this corporation called the Shinra Corporation, and they control the Mako reactors in the city Midgar. And that Midgar has like 8 reactors. And in this demo, you're doing the very first mission of Final Fantasy VII, where this essentially an eco-terrorist group called Avalanche, led by Barrett, has hired this mercenary who's an ex-member of the elite task force called Soldier, and his name is Cloud, to help them bomb this reactor. And so that's what the entire mission is. It's the introduction of the very beginning of the game. It's the introduction of Cloud, of Barrett, of the other members of Avalanche, Jesse, Wedge, can't remember the other dude's name, but I would say it was really nice. I can definitely tell now with the way they're doing this remake, and I'm pretty sure everyone's heard how it's episodic. And so they're supposed to be expanding upon what we saw with the the original game. And the Avalanche group probably has more lines of dialogue in this demo than they did in the entire original game, which I really liked. I got to know who Jesse was. Where in the first game, I really didn't know who Jesse was. They were here and then they were gone that pretty quickly. So I think this game will have more emotional impact than the other game did. And I know that may be hard for some people to understand, considering how Final Fantasy VII is beloved. But when you seeing a higher graphical fidelity of the characters, pretty damn good voice acting, and then also getting to know these characters on a deeper level than the dialogue that we were presented with back in 1997. And I think people who are being freshly introduced to this game will really endear themselves to these characters, especially Aerith. But she is in the demo, but not like a character that you interact with too much. Just in the very beginning cutscene and then the end cutscene. There's no Tifa in it at all. She's mentioned, but not really in it. Let me get into talking about Cloud. So I love, and I'm not gonna do spoilers, but I loved like the little hints that something's not quite right with him mentally. And some of the questions are things like when Barrett asks him how old he is, and he kind of skirted the question. When Jesse asked him about his relationship with Tifa, and he seemed to struggle to be able to answer. I love how they've already planted the seeds for a lot of the big reveals of the story so early in the game. It's just amazing. I love it. The combat, let's get into the combat. So the combat, this is how the combat works. You use the square button for your base attack, and it's a lot more like Final Fantasy 15 in combat, where you move around, you're actually moving the character. It's not like the turn-based old school traditional JRPG style of Final Fantasy where everyone's just standing in a line, and you may have a row where you could put people in the front and put people in the back, and you just wait your turn. You're actually moving around, attacking enemies, being as aggressive as you want to be. Everyone has either like Cloud, where he has a different stance, or in that stance will be where he can do way more damage with his attacks, but he can't block and he can't really run or dodge. So there is some risk with that. Like if you're going to use that, you're gonna need to really like get really close to the enemy, run close to them, then switch to that style, that stance, and then attack the enemy. Otherwise, he's in operator mode where he can dodge and he can block with the huge Buster Sword. Barrett, who also you use in the demo, instead of having different stances, he has overcharge, which you use with triangle the same way you would use with stances. And overcharge will allow him to fire off one really big blast from his railgun, but it takes some time to charge that up. So each character seems to be having different special abilities. And you also still have the ATB meter, where once that gets filled up, you can do a special attack. With Cloud, it was, if you recall, cross slash, and then I can't remember what the other one was, but those were attacks that he had in the original game as well. Barrett's special attacks are the same as well. And then the demo really builds up to the boss battle, where you have to really put all of the different aspects of combat it's been teaching you throughout the demo to use. You're going up against the final boss. There are times where you gotta hide behind debris. There are only really like two things that they added that you needed to learn, and even though you could have, if you wanted to, use magic prior to then, you do need to use magic. You need to use Barrett's lightning on the Scorpion Sentinel because it's weak to that. You also need to hide behind debris when it charges up its tail laser attack. Otherwise, you have to be switching back and forth between Cloud and Barrett, especially when the Scorpion leaves and jumps up on the wall. Cloud can't reach him from there, so you have to use Barrett. I really love that because it really tells me that when the full game comes out, when you get your bigger group, your more characters and party members, team composition is going to be really important. You're going to really need to make sure you have a balanced group to be able to handle those kind of bosses, to be able to handle those kind of enemies, even just regular enemies. When there's turrets up on the wall and Cloud can't reach them, you need Barrett to be able to shoot those things down. That's just really smart ways of developing the game. Way better, way more tactical than Final Fantasy 15 was. Final Fantasy 15, you didn't even really need to do anything beyond having Noctis do his teleport slash thing into an enemy and just just wreck everyone. It was super easy. It was way too simple and boring. It was exciting maybe like the first 5 minutes, then it got boring. Final Fantasy VII Remake seems to have taken the more exciting aspects of that and then incorporated some of what we knew with the materia system, with the magic, with the abilities that they had in the first game, and just create a really good, very fleshed out way of doing the combat. I actually thought it was very interesting in recent interviews that the developers for Square Enix who worked on this game said a very big influence for them was God of War, which God of War's combat's amazing. And for them to say they had some influences from God of War and how they set this up, it's hitting all the right buttons. Let me finish up by talking about episodic content. So like, I was already going to get this game day one. Like it was a wrap before this demo. This demo just solidified to me that this game is going to be awesome. And yes, it is only the aspects of Midgar in Final Fantasy VII, which you can essentially, with the original game, leave Midgar within 10 hours. Now, don't take that as this Final Fantasy VII Remake is only going to be 10 hours. They said they're adding additional content. They're going to add more to it to lengthen that process out to make it more enjoyable. So even for us old school Final Fantasy VII fans, there's going to be additional content here that we weren't aware of or that we didn't actually get to see in the original game. But I know there are some people who are still somewhat miffed that a game that's a remake is going to be episodic when essentially you do already know the ending here. And I would say that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. And if you really feel strongly enough about it that you're not going to play this game until it's a full game and it's all completely out and we're in next gen and it's 2022 and they finally came out with every single aspect of this game, more power to you. If you can hold out that long, go for it. But me personally, I don't care. I'm playing it day one and it's just the way it is. So yeah, I would say the quality of this demo is so good. Even if you're not an RPG fan, even if you hate Final Fantasy, even if you just don't care about anything involving this franchise, it's a free demo and it's of high quality. Download it, play it. It's 45 minutes at the most. Give it a shot, download it, play it. You might actually like it. So yeah, that's my video. Let me know how you guys feel about Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo. Did you play it? Are you not going to play it? Are you boycotting Square Enix? Whatever. Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you liked the video. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. It's all good. And hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos about Final Fantasy VII Remake in the future. Peace.